Hello and welcome to You Skip That. I'm Dan Clark.
And I'm Alex Grace.
And this is the podcast where we share movies with our friends.
Yeah.
Every week, one of us shares a movie that the other one hasn't seen, so they have not skipped that. This week, we are tackling the 1989 Batman.
I'm Batman.
Starring Jack Nicholson as the Joker, Michael Keaton as Batman, Kim Basinger as Vicky Vale. Those are the real big names in it. Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent.
Yeah.
This is a movie that I don't remember a time in my life where I hadn't seen it. It's just one of those, it's always been there. I watched it a ton as a kid. I had like 3 movies that I cycled through. It was this, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and Wizard of Oz. I just on a loop.
Weird that there's 2 Tim Burton movies in there.
Yeah, and they're like the 2 Tim Burton movies that I really enjoy. Yeah, I'm coming at this from a place of some deep, genuine love. But what did you think of it?
Honestly, it was great.
It's just a good movie.
It is, top to bottom, and we'll get into some of the nitty gritty stuff.
It's a movie with issues. It has some issues.
I want to get kind of nerdy about it.
Okay.
There are things I really like, nerdiness wise.
But it does have issues.
Well, I mean,
and we'll get to
every
that.
movie does.
Yeah.
But I cannot think of a time from the time that movie began to the time it ended where I wasn't smiling.
The title sequence on this movie.
Incredible.
Like, going back to the beginning, it felt wrong watching it in the dark on my big screen TV with good sound and not having popcorn.
Right.
It just feels like a popcorn flick.
It grabs you right from the beginning.
It does. That Danny Elfman score, brilliant. I would say some of the casting in this movie is just some of the best ever. Jack Nicholson as the Joker is making a meal of it.
Oh, big time.
Michael Keaton as Batman. Up to this point, he'd only done comedic roles, and so people weren't real sure about him, but he nails it.
It's funny, that was a big thing in the late 80s, early 90s, was taking comedy guys and putting them in a serious role, and everybody going, I don't think it's going to work this time, and it worked.
For those who haven't seen it, it handles kind of the earlier days of Batman's career where not a lot of people are even sure he exists, and the rise of the Joker, and it's just real kind of Batman Year One feel to it, which is one of my favorite comics. It's just a lot of fun the way that it takes you along on this. It's fun seeing a movie where they're like, I don't believe this guy exists. It doesn't deal with how he became Batman. We briefly see the scene in the alley with his parents and the pearls falling to the ground and everything. But
can they make a Batman movie without showing that? Apparently not.
I mean, not a first one.
Yeah, not a first one. Yeah. It's like every Batman story has to include that for some reason.
Yeah.
It's like we all know it at this point.
Yeah, it's the whole movie centered around the 200-year anniversary of Gotham and gearing up for it, and then this crime lord Joker shows up and throws the city into chaos. And that's about it for plot. I mean, there's other nuances to it, but it's really Joker shows up, Batman fights him. Yeah. That's the plot of the movie.
It kind of has a little bit of a Rocky feel, and that it's a whole movie of building up to what amounts to a pretty short fight.
Yeah. Batman's a little less of an underdog in this, but it does have that. The
calling out on TV, all of that, just kind of, I don't know, I just kept sitting there going, this reminds me of Rocky in a weird way.
Yeah. I want to hear more of your thoughts.
More of my thoughts. You hit the nail on the head early. Like, Jack Nicholson is a spectacular Joker in this.
It's the kind of role that we're not used to seeing him in. Like,
right.
I think Jack Nicholson, You Can't Handle the Truth, those big, meaty, serious roles, Chinatown, and here he's just goofy.
Kind of kooky, yeah. It's kind of like, what if you took him in The Shining and just said, hey, make it PG and a little less scary? And he just went, sure, why not?
He said that he approached the role as kind of evil Bugs Bunny.
And it shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny that you say he's like evil Bugs Bunny, because the first thing I went to was Roger Rabbit. There's a lot of things the Joker does that seems like they work because it's funny.
Right.
Like, Batman's flying at him in the Batwing, and Joker pulls a comically large gun out of his pants.
Yep.
And shoots the Batwing down with a single bullet.
And, we've seen him walking around in this scene, and there's no way that gun could be there if he was walking. It's long enough that it would go past his knee. But it's funny. It comes out of hammer space.
Yeah.
At the top of the cathedral when he's reaching down to help Vicky Vale, and it's a fake hand. He had no time to load that.
Right.
But it's funny.
Yeah.
So
it works. Michael Keaton's a great Batman, and I think what makes him a great Batman is he's also a good Bruce Wayne. Mm-hmm. I feel like future Batmans kind of struggled with that.
Yeah.
They were good at one or the other.
Yeah.
All the other characters are delightful for the part they play in it.
I love Knox.
Yeah, he's just kind of that goofy, hapless sidekick character that a lot of stories in the 40s and 50s needed.
Yeah.
Which it feels like this is emulating a lot of.
I think Tim Burton intentionally made it feel kind of all times.
Yeah.
Because there are weapons that would not be realistic in the 40s, but there's also...
technology and design that doesn't fit in the 90s.
Yeah. But yeah, I love Knox. Michael Goff as Alfred. Perfect.
Great Alfred.
Commissioner Gordon, I like. Well, now he's very good. I think I like Gary Oldman a little bit more.
Commissioner Gordon in this isn't really a character. He's just kind of set dressing.
Yeah. He is a vehicle by which the plot moves forward at a couple points.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. He's the reason that Batman knows that Joker's going to be in this place.
Right. Going back to the design for a second, that's what I wanted to nerd out about.
Go for it.
There is nothing in this movie that isn't intentionally and lovingly made. Mm-hmm. Like, the props are incredible. The sets are some of the best I've seen in a modern movie. You can't hold sets from an 80s or 90s movie up against, any of those, like, classic 50s, 60s, like, big musicals or anything. Mm-hmm. They just blew it away in set design. But the sets in this are incredible. Like, they're this weird blend of, like you said, kind of all time periods. There's stuff that feels very 80s and new and hip right next to stuff that's very art deco, and it feels like it works together for some reason.
You've never seen any of the 4 Batman movies from this era, have you? Batman Returns does a decent job of it, but then it feels like they really lost the balance after that. Yeah. They had it just right, and somehow they went ahead and ruined it. Tons of huge statues, and the city's kind of built around them. It's just, by Batman Forever, it doesn't look like a real place to live in. Honestly, it kind of looks like an AI-generated image of you're like, just make me a comic book city.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. There's like big statues and all this, and there's a balcony here, and this guy's torso. Why? I don't know. AI just doesn't know what to do with that yet. Yeah, I love the look of Gotham City in this. I love the feel of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree entirely. And also like the interior.
Yeah.
Sets, the Batcave looks
That's what
great.
I was talking about. Like, the Batcave, the one that really got me was the museum. The museum was really cool. Uh-huh. I was like, that would be a cool place to go.
Wayne Manor looks great. We don't see it a ton, but the newspaper office looks just like a newspaper office out of like the 40s. Yeah. Or something. Yeah. It's all lovingly made. Yeah. And I don't know why, because it shouldn't be this way. Prince music?
Yeah, what? I mean, I can just chalk that up to it's the 80s, and every movie in the 80s needed to have a pop song to go with it. Mm-hmm.
But there's several Prince songs in this.
It all works.
Yeah, I like all the songs. Yeah. Party Man.
Museum scene's great.
Trust, which plays during the parade. Love that one. Yeah, it's a wild choice.
Yeah, and Joker's up there on the float, bebopping around to Prince, and it's like, okay.
Tossing money around. And
he is the clown prince of crime.
He is.
So.
With his balloons.
My balloons!
He stole my balloons! Yeah, this really was kind of, and you can see it. You can see how it became the launching point for pretty much everything comic movie wise.
Oh yeah.
Following this, there was Superman before this, and there were a couple of duds. Yeah. In the meantime. Yeah. But then this, you can see how the Christopher Nolan movies came from that, and then from there you can see everything. Yeah. Just about.
Well, and really, I think the best straight line you can draw. The natural spiritual successor to these, which then I think brought along the Nolan movies, was the Spider-Man trilogy. Yeah. Because the Spider-Man trilogy felt the most like this movie. Yeah. That was kind of the feel I got watching this. Is like, man, this reminds me of the first Spider-Man movie in the best way possible.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a movie that I was actually surprised when we were coming up with the list for this that you hadn't seen. Yeah. This one I was surprised by. Hellboy I was surprised by, because they feel like movies that you would have loved as a kid.
Right. I think a big part of it was neither of my parents were big comic book people. Mm-hmm. My dad's collection of choice was baseball cards. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, so he wasn't really into the whole comic book scene. And as far as like genres of stuff. He leaned more towards sci-fi, like Star Trek and that kind of stuff, and rom-coms for some reason.
Huh. Go figure.
But, yeah, he also had a weird thing against Tim Burton. Just didn't like Tim Burton as a whole, even though he loved Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure does not feel like a Tim Burton.
Right.
That was Tim Burton in his infancy.
Right.
This one also doesn't feel...
There's some definite Tim Burton.
He's starting to get there.
Yeah.
But considering the movie he did right before this is Beetlejuice,
Yeah.
this is dialed back.
Oh, for sure.
And considering his next movie was Batman Returns, like, this is like a low point.
Yeah.
Batman Returns would best be described as this, but a Tim Burton movie. Lots of the horizontal stripes, lots of the weird kind of overly grotesque things and all that. It's a good movie. I like Returns. Yeah. I love this. I like that.
Yeah.
And then I also have seen Forever and Batman and Robin. Yeah. I don't mind those two. Yeah. They have their place.
I remember the marketing for And Robin.
Yeah.
I remember McDonald's having it all over the place.
Yeah, you weren't around for Batman Returns.
Yeah.
This one, I am sure it did have... In fact, I know it had a lot of marketing. I was not old enough to remember it, but I've read about it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is they were trying to distance themselves from Adam West, which was most of what people knew about Batman at that point.
Right.
And so there was a lot of marketing to get across. This isn't that. It's not the pow, bam, zip, big, colorful...
Yeah. Sometimes you just can't get rid of a bomb.
Yeah. And yet there is some of that DNA in there. Jack Nicholson does, at times, kind of feel like the Cesar Romero Joker. Where it's like, I don't know why you did that, other than it's just for a laugh.
Yeah.
Which is a far cry from Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
And I want to make it perfectly clear, I love Heath Ledger's Joker. That is not a knock against. In fact, I'd go so far as to say The Dark Knight is one of, if not my favorite movie. But that's not the vibe that Heath Ledger gets out. Heath Ledger, it's more like he's laughing at a joke that no one else is hearing.
Yeah.
Whereas this is, he's just making jokes at inappropriate times, and you can't stop him because...
he's nuts.
Yeah. He's joking about hideously unfunny things.
Right.
You know, we just saw a news reporter die on live television, and he puts on this cheesy commercial for Smilex gas. He's like, yeah, this is what killed her. You could get it too. In fact, you probably already have it in your house.
Yeah.
Have fun, Gotham.
Yep.
You know, throwing out cheesy lines and all that. And it's like, you're not funny. He's like, I bet I am, because I'm going to be the last one laughing.
I'm laughing.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. I loved that little commercial.
Uh-huh.
It was just the right amount of hilarious and creepy. Mm-hmm. It's just the perfect blend.
I like the idea, again, juxtaposing against the Heath Ledger Joker, and they are two completely different characters, but the fact that it is, his skin is bleached white, which is more in line with the comics.
Yeah.
The fact that it's nerve damage that causes this hideous smile. That whole scene where he's seeing himself for the first time, but we don't see him.
Yeah.
The plastic surgeon, that's wonderfully done.
Oh, fantastic. Him, walking away, just that insane laugh.
Yeah.
It's like, I know where this is going now.
Yep. I don't think Jack Napier's going to be okay. They do take their time with the reveal of the Joker, which is something that doesn't really get done anymore.
Right.
First off, I do feel like Batman is being way overdone these days. I love Batman.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of them right up there on my shelf. I got a lot of Batman. I've read a lot of comics.
I'm sitting here looking at it.
And there's some great comics up there. Yeah. There's also some bad comics up there.
They can't all be winners.
That's true. It does feel like, okay, cool. The Joker's in this one. You know the Joker. You know he's the villain, so let's get him out there. Again, The Dark Knight, love the movie. You see the Joker like 10 minutes in the Arkham games. He's right there. And like in Arkham Asylum, which my wife is playing through, he's one of the first things you see. They don't build you up to, this is our version of the Joker. And on this, you see him before he changes. And then you see his hand, and then you see him in silhouette. And then he shows up at Boss Grissom's apartment, office, whatever, and it's just him in silhouette as he's getting closer and closer until he steps into the light, and it's really cool.
Growing that. There's that dread. You know what you're going to see.
Yeah.
The Joker's pretty iconic. Mm-hmm. And I mean, even when this came out, I think if you asked most people on the street, what does the Joker look like, they'd be able to tell you green hair, white face, big red smile.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's that build up and that tension where it's like, oh no, I know what this is going to be, but I haven't seen it yet.
Mm-hmm. And it still worked. Like, you had seen what the Joker looks like before. Like, you have existed on the internet, as we've said before. it's hard not to have seen something from this
Oh, yeah.
movie. But it still works. Like, I've seen this movie 100 times. And I'm still kind of like, God, this is just, I feel tense about what's hiding there. There's several scenes, like that scene where he's finally revealed on the clock tower, where he's doing in Vicky Vale's apartment as well, where he's dancing to music, but it's music that only we can hear.
Yeah.
I thought about that in a couple scenes where I'm like, how crazy must he look to everyone who can't hear this music?
Yep.
Especially on the clock tower, where he's just waltzing with Vicky Vale at the end there to nothing.
Mm-hmm.
He's just dancing. He got up there, he's like, helicopter's not here yet. Might as well cut her up.
Like you do.
Yeah, you know. One issue that I have with this movie, and I didn't realize it until 2019 would have been the 30th anniversary of it. It was released as a Fathom event, and I went and saw it in the movie theater, which is great. When you get to see a movie you've only ever seen on TV that you love on the big screen, it's an experience. But for a solid chunk of this movie, it feels like it's just kind of ping-ponging between what's Batman doing? Okay, we've seen that for 2 minutes. Let's get to 2 minutes of the Joker. Now, 2 minutes of Batman, 2 minutes of the Joker, and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. They cut to Joker one time, and he's reading the newspaper and goes, oh, winged vigilante terrorizing Gotham. Wait till they get a load of me. And then he laughs, and then they cut away.
Yeah.
Like, that's all you get of the Joker right now.
Yeah.
And then they cut back to him, and the girl, Alicia, walks in. He goes, you'll never believe what happened to me today. And then she passes out, and he goes, ah. And then they cut away from him again.
Yeah.
And he goes back to, Batman or Vicky Vale and Knox. And it kind of feels like they went, okay, we need a scene of the hero, a scene of the villain. Heroes, villains, back and forth and back and forth in about equal measure.
Yeah.
For a lot of it.
It didn't really faze me at all.
Yeah.
I mean,
like
I thought it was kind of fun.
Like I said, I didn't really notice it until 30 years after I'd first seen it. That is a gripe I have with the movie. As we said before, if that's the only gripe that I have with this movie, it's a good movie. And I do still love this movie. I know it like shorthand.
And I can absolutely see.
Oh.
We made it so far.
Tank.
We made it so far.
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
In the past couple episodes, we've gotten all the way to the end. I'm like, oh, you should probably say it, just, tradition, and you don't mess with tradition.
Yeah, you don't mess with tradition. It's nice to get a natural one in there.
It is.
But I can totally see why people loved this movie. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm probably going to buy it and watch it again.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's just the perfect popcorn movie.
It's kind of funny. There's a mystery in there. Like, these people are dying of some poison, and no one can figure out how it's being delivered. And in one scene, Batman goes, it's this. You don't have to figure it out. We haven't laid out any clues.
Yeah.
Or anything like that. I'm the detective. I figured it out. Here it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't do like the usual murder mystery thing of, well, if you go back and you look in the background of this scene, you can see this guy's not acting real weird. You can see he's buying these two things, and later on he dies, and you find out that, it's just Batman goes, I'm the world's greatest detective. You don't even have a chance, so let's go ahead and just give it to you so you don't feel too stupid,
I think that was a great way to show it, too. Where, nobody had even considered, it's a combination of things.
Another thing about this movie that I was not a fan of.
Okay.
Vicky Vale will not stop screaming. She has this piercing scream, and she does it all the time.
Yeah. Again, I go back to that's kind of the time they're emulating. Like, that was all the damsel in distress did in a 40s serial, was just that high-pitched, ah!
Yeah.
Every time something happened.
Yeah, and I like the character for the most part. She is smart. She is capable. Yeah. She is only a few times the damsel in distress. But when she is...
Yeah.
She
goes straight to the shriek.
Straight to the shriek, yeah.
And it's funny, I think it's more egregious in things that are pretending to be a 40s serial than it is actual 40s serials.
Yeah.
The two movies I go to, this one now, because, I noticed that too. I just kind of went, it's a thing. Push it off. The other one, I can barely stand Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
Because of the sheer amount of screaming in it.
I mean, there's
other reasons not to like Temple of Doom.
Yeah, it's worse in movies that are emulating it, because it's like, why was that the part you decided to emulate?
Right.
You made that a choice. Back then, it was just the way you did things.
Yeah.
But now you've made a choice of doing that.
But getting back to Batman, there's a lot of things in this movie that the cynical part of me wants to go, well, that was just to sell toys.
Yeah.
The Batwing and the Batmobile and some of the gadgets. but I don't care. They're all so freaking cool.
That gets worse as the series goes on.
I know, yeah.
And this one isn't as bad as, get the bat shark repellent from the Adam West. And I will say that I haven't seen all of I haven't seen the Batman, but I've seen, I think, every other Batman movie. Mm-hmm. And I love the Christopher Nolan movies. This is my Batmobile. When I think of the 100%. Batmobile, I think of this.
Yeah, I didn't even see this movie as a kid, and whenever I picture the Batmobile, this is the one I picture.
Yeah.
Because, I remember it was everywhere. You just could not turn without seeing a picture of this car.
And it was largely the same. They might have made some minor modifications to it in Returns. Mm-hmm. But then after that, they're like, well, if we make it look different and put like lights on it, then we can sell another toy. I think I had a Batman toy back in the day. But they did like Bob the Henchman.
Yeah.
He had an action figure.
Of course.
He had like action kick thing, something like that. Even though he doesn't, I think, kick anything.
I don't think so, no.
Points a gun at people.
Yeah.
Something that was controversial in this movie.
Okay.
That I don't mind. In the comics, it's not the Joker that killed Batman's parents.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a cool reveal.
Yeah.
It's a criminal named Joe Chill, who is the guy that kills him in the Nolan movies.
Mm-hmm.
But in this, you find out fairly far in, with no real foreshadowing, that a young Jack Napier, a.k.a. the Joker, along with henchman Bob, were the ones responsible for killing Thomas and Martha Wayne, which I think makes it worth it to show the origin.
That was an interesting change, and one I was kind of aware of.
Were you?
There are even, theories out there that this version of Batman, it's not that the Joker actually killed his parents, although I'm sitting there watching it, and that's pretty obvious. Like, he admits to it, and he's like, hey, I was just a kid. But there's, like, an internet theory out there that he just assigns that to his target. That's how he justifies what he does.
Right. I mean, in defense of that theory, which I don't buy, Joker's just trying to buy time when he goes, I was just a kid when I killed your parents. Yeah. You can see it being just, I'm not admitting to it, I'm just playing along so that I can get better footing to actually, which he ends up doing. He almost wins right after that. I could see that. It's not the way it is, but it's an interesting theory.
I like that.
Some alternate casting here.
Okay. I always enjoy these.
Yeah. Batman, they were considering a young Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. And Mel Gibson.
That feels like a bullet dodge for a whole bunch of reasons.
Yeah. He does have the jaw, though.
He does. Yeah. He does have the jaw.
But as George Clooney proved and would admit, the jaw does not make the character.
It's true.
Harvey Dent, Ray Liotta.
Oh, yeah, that'd been good.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. He was real young at that point, though. Grissom, Martin Landau, Albert Finney, and Christopher Lee.
All good.
Yeah.
All good. I'm glad it was Jack Palance, though. You know?
He brings something to it.
What an actor.
You are my number one guy.
Yeah. He just brings a certain unhingedness to anything he does.
Kind of slimy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, I want to go watch City Slickers now.
But you can kind of see how he has enough charisma to have gotten into his position.
Oh, for sure.
I wouldn't trust him, but I could see why someone would.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alexander Knox, Daniel Stern.
Interesting.
And Steve Martin was approached and turned it down.
Okay. I feel like Steve Martin's too old for a role like that.
Yeah.
Even then.
The white hair would have kind of thrown it off. Unless he did like My Blue Heaven, where he just cut it short and dyed it brown. And Joker, Jack Nicholson was always the number one choice.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
But when they weren't sure they'd be able to get him, Brad Dourif played Wormtongue. And the voice of Chucky.
Yeah.
He was briefly considered. Robin Williams was offered the role, which was a source of a lot of controversy back then. They offered him the role and then went to Jack Nicholson and went, hey, Robin Williams is ready to sign on. And he went, well, I'll sign on instead. And Robin got real mad that he was used as just kind of a decoy.
That's crappy.
Enough that he was, I believe, approached to be Riddler in Batman Forever, and he refused to have anything to do with it. Yeah.
I get that.
Right. Considered to direct, interestingly, we mentioned him earlier, Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
But he was considered to be too young. Which is weird because this was Tim Burton's third movie.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure all of the Evil Dead movies predate this.
The first one does definitely, second one maybe. Third one was early 90s.
Okay.
And then the Coen brothers were approached as well.
That would have been a weird Batman movie.
It would have been. They turned it down because they didn't want to work on the property that they had created. So now the real interesting one, apparently Steven Spielberg was planning on making a Batman movie at one point.
Interesting.
And it just never came to be.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you a guess. Steven Spielberg in the 80s.
Okay.
Who did he want to cast as Batman?
Steven Spielberg in the 80s. Harrison Ford.
He wanted Harrison Ford for Batman.
I actually could see that.
Yeah. 80s Harrison
in the
Ford?
80s, yeah.
Yeah.
Like Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford. He would have been a great Bruce Wayne, too. Mm-hmm. In the same way Michael Keaton's a great Bruce Wayne. Just a guy who's putting on a facade, but only barely.
Yeah.
Who's kind of haunted by this other thing he's doing.
Right. He'd rather be doing the other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Harrison Ford is like that every day of his life.
Yeah.
Is Harrison Ford actually Batman?
I don't know.
Mr. Ford, don't rewind this. Cut this out. Don't play this.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I can't.
You need to do it.
I can't do that.
What if I've outed Harrison Ford as Batman?
Okay, answer me this. If you're going to get taken out, what better way than having Harrison Ford just show up at your front door and just knock your lights out?
Yeah, that would be pretty great.
You'd want it on your tombstone. Alex Grace punched out by Harrison Ford.
You messed up, kid.
All right, back to the dream casting here.
Okay, go ahead.
Robin.
Okay.
Michael J. Fox.
Yes, 100%.
80s Michael J. Fox.
80s Michael J. Fox.
Teen Wolf Michael J. Fox. Yeah.
Teen Wolf Michael J. You couldn't go back to the future Michael J. Fox?
Yeah, yeah. Joker.
Okay.
Tim Curry.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Can we go to the alternate reality where this movie exists?
Penguin was going to be in it.
Okay.
Played by Dustin Hoffman.
Naturally.
Yeah. There's going to be a character named Silver St. Sable who's from the comics. It would have been the Vicky Vale type character, the love interest and all that. Gina Davis.
Love it.
Yeah. Alfred, John Pertwee.
Oh.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. His son actually plays Alfred in the show Gotham. So it would have been kind of an interesting connection there. Gordon, Burt Reynolds.
Okay.
Wild casting here.
This is a who's who.
If anyone could have gotten it together, it'd be 80s Steven Spielberg.
Steven Spielberg, yeah.
Harvey Dent, Martin Sheen.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Rupert Thorne, who would have been the Boss Grissom character. Richard Dreyfuss.
Ooh.
Yeah. That was a movie that could have happened.
Man.
And it didn't. Like, I'm glad we got this version.
Yeah.
I love this version.
Great.
But we have enough other versions of Batman running concurrently, you know. Robert Pattinson's out there playing him. He was there while Ben Affleck was still in the role. Now he's making another one while I'm sure James Gunn is preparing for it.
Yeah.
We've had enough running concurrently. Give us this Batman.
Yeah.
I'll go for maybe not now. I was going to say nowadays. Just put Harrison Ford in the suit. I want to see this movie.
You know, you could almost do a Batman Beyond movie where Harrison Ford is old Bruce Wayne. Yeah. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I could get on board with that.
They've already covered what happened to the Joker in that. And it is Mark Hamill, which is hard to beat, you know.
Yeah.
Bringing it back to Star Wars.
Yeah. We've been there the whole time.
There's another reference. If you don't get that one, I'm sorry you don't. But yeah.
One day you'll be cool like us.
Any other thoughts on Batman?
Any other thoughts on Batman, huh? Not really. Just, I am sorry I skipped this for as long as I did. Mm-hmm. It was funny because when we started talking about making this and you were like, oh, I want to do Batman since you haven't seen it, I was like, well, now I want to watch Batman.
You actually told me that. I was supposed to do a different movie this week. I think I was supposed to do Matchstick Men with Nicolas Cage and Sam Rockwell, which is coming.
Yeah.
Weird movie. I need to rewatch that, make sure it's as good as I remember it. Maybe I'll just wait to do it on the show and go in blind, and it might just be me going, I'm sorry. Another Lucky Number 11 situation.
Yeah, but apparently people love that movie.
Apparently, yeah.
And good for them.
I think
it's good.
I'm already getting to the point of, it was kind of a weird, quirky movie, you know?
Yeah, let's watch Lucky Number 11 again.
Yeah. But yeah, I was going to do Matchstick Men this week, and then you were like, I really want to see Batman, and I don't know that I want to wait, because I was going to do it in like February or March or something like that.
Yeah, it was going to be a long time.
And so I was like, I'll just swap things out here. Get it? Because I wanted to watch Batman too. I don't think I have any other significant thoughts on Batman.
I don't. So, but now I've not skipped it.
I'm glad you haven't skipped it. And I'm glad I could facilitate that for you. Go watch it. Highly recommended.
Yep.
Nice change of pace from last week.
Bat adjacent still, weirdly enough.
Yeah. This one has more to do with bats than the vampire
movie. It does,
movie.
yeah. It does.
Figure that one out, but... Yeah, we'll be back next week with another movie. This time it'll be Alex's choice.
Yes.
So
it's a fun one.
Yeah, it looks like it. So a definite change of pace.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we'll figure that out.
We will indeed.
Yeah. Before we get out of here, you want to tell them where they can find us on socials?
Oh, yes. You do need to find us on the socials because...
You need to.
We do some fun stuff on there.
Yeah.
You can find us on Facebook. The words "you skipped that" ? You search all that, you'll find us.
Separate words. Not all together. Yeah.
That is important, Facebook.
Yep.
Now, you go over to Instagram, TikTok, or Threads. It's all one word. You skipped that. No punctuation. Just you skipped that altogether.
Cool.
And every Wednesday, I post a single screenshot from the movie that we'll be talking about on that next Monday. Give you a chance to guess what that movie is.
Nice.
We've got a few dedicated players of this game, and some of them are really good.
Are they?
Yes.
Have to pick something. I was going to say, you're going to have to pick something really wild for next week, but I don't know that I would. Like, I've never seen it. I don't know that there's, like, it's not a popular movie.
No.
Not like Batman, where it's like, I mean, you just post a picture of the cityscape and people can tell.
I'm pretty sure in this one, this next movie coming up, I could just post a screenshot of one of the main characters in the movie and nobody would have a clue.
There you go.
If they get it, I will be very impressed.
It's entirely possible that all of you out there have skipped this one too. So come in and join me in the experience of discovering it.
The unskipping, if you will.
Yeah. It is almost certainly going to be better than Twilight.
Yeah, it's not hard.
You were the one that picked Twilight.
I did.
I'm just saying that. I'm just saying it.
And again, no hate.
You did that
to
hate. Us. We'll check that out next week, but until then, I'm Dan Clark.
And I'm Alex Grace.
And this has been You Skip That.
Bye-bye.
Bye.